Good evening. My name is Brian Hodge, and today we're going to discuss the benefits and what it takes to change the oil in an automobile. Many of you have brought your automobile to various service centers, dealerships, things of that nature to get the maintenance done on your vehicle. But today I'm going to kind of show you an overview as to what goes on behind the scenes for those of you that have never seen the oil changed or for your do-it-yourselfers. Step one. First thing you want to do is get a nice flat level area. You don't want to put the car up on ramps or on jack stands in an area that is going to be unlevel or uneven, because you run the risk of it falling off the jack and possibly intentionally crushing yourself. And we don't want that to happen, now do we? The next thing you need to do is have a proper tool set. This includes most of the time a metric set of tools, wrenches or hand sockets, and that'll allow you the opportunity to take the drain plug out, remove the oil filter with an oil filter wrench, which is another item that you'll need, and also you'll need a catch can or a place to get rid of the used motor oil. We don't want the motor oil running out on the ground and or hurting our environment. Those are potential problems that we face in today's society. So the thing we need to do is get the vehicle on a flat level surface. We'll need to jack the front end of the car up, or if you have a Porsche or Volkswagen, you'll jack the rear end of the car up, or a Corvair. Then you'll get the motor up off of the ground and where that you can position yourself under the vehicle. The next thing that you'll want to do is find where the drain plug is located, which will be a small bolt located on the bottom of the engine, which is in the area called the drain pan. And then you will take your drain pan, place it underneath that oil pan, and remove that bolt, being careful not to lose it into the oil. So you'll want to catch the bolt that you take out of the bottom of the engine, and the black dark fluid, which is used motor oil, will come out and into the pan. Once you have drained all the oil out of that pan and into the collection can that you have there at the bottom, you'll want to reinstall the bolt and make sure that it is firmly seated in the oil pan in the engine. Because if you don't do so, it will, one, cause a leak, and two, if the bolt falls out, all the oil will go out onto the ground and cause detrimental engine failure. And that can be a very costly mistake. Once you've drained that oil out, you've replaced the plug, then you need to move the pan to the appropriate area to where the oil filter is. And you can consult with any of your auto parts or your car dealership to get the right oil and the right filter in order to make this procedure easy. You will take your oil filter wrench. This wrench has got a hole opening in it about this diameter that will fit over the oil filter. And what you'll want to do is remove the oil filter. There will be motor oil in it. You want to make sure that your catch can is properly placed underneath that filter during this time, so as you remove the filter, it's catching that oil that is coming out and coming out of the filter. Once you remove the filter, you can place it down in the catch pan to let it drain the oil out until you're ready to move it to the proper location for recycling. Then once you have removed that, you'll take a rag that you have brought with you, preferably something that's old and used, and you'll want to take that and clean up the surface where the oil filter was to make sure that there aren't any places of debris, dirt, and mud. And also you want to make sure that the oil filter O-ring has come off with the filter and is not still on the vehicle. Because if you double gasket that filter, you will cause major problems and a major oil leak, because that area of the vehicle is pressurized. So you've cleaned up that area, made sure that everything is good and clean. What you'll want to do now is reverse this process. So what you'll do is you'll take a little bit of your used motor oil, put it on your finger, and then you take the new filter and apply a little bit of oil around the rubber O-ring. The reason you're doing that is if the bare O-ring touches the engine surface, it will cause it to adhere to the metal, and then you'll never be able to get that oil filter off without some kind of a chisel or torch in order to get that done, and that can also be very costly. So you want to apply a little bit of oil around that O-ring to help provide lubrication so that the next oil change goes very smoothly. Once you've applied that oil, you'll spin the filter back up on the threaded surface. If you have the canister style, which is in a lot of your Buicks, Mercedes, and BMWs, you'll apply that around the O-ring as well and put your canister filter into that oil bath and replace that filter. You've spun it up on there. You'll want to take your oil wrench, and then you'll want to move it to about a quarter of a turn in order to ensure that that filter is put on properly. Same thing with the canister style. You want to make sure that once that canister is screwed down in there, that your cap is on, and you want to firm that up just a little bit snug. You don't want to over torque it because that will cause the housing to crack, and you don't want that to happen as well. So now we want to recheck, make sure that our oil drain plug is in tight because we don't want that leak to happen. We also want to make sure that our oil filter and or our capsule top is tight as well. Next thing you want to do is remove your oil catch pan and your tools from under the vehicle, and then pull those items back out. Once you've got the hood up on the automobile, you'll pull out the dipstick, which is usually a yellow in color. Some of it says oil on it. You'll pull that dipstick out and lay it across the front of the radiator cowl. Wipe the end of it off to get any of the excess oil, because you're going to be marking to see how much oil you're putting back in the car. So according to your specifications in your owner's manual, you'll see how much motor oil is required to put back in your car. So once you have determined that, you will have gone to your auto parts store or dealership to get your oil filter and your motor oil, and then those are the items that you'll need to place back in the car. So let's take, for instance, the vehicle that I currently drive, which is an 09 Chevrolet Diesel Duramax. It takes 12 quarts of motor oil, and then I'll buy that in big gallon jugs, and I will open up the cap that's on the engine and put that in and measure it out to full capacity. Once you measure full capacity, put that item back in there, put your cap on, put your oil dipstick in, verify that it's full on the stick, and you can start your vehicle and check for any leaks. That concludes our message for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Thank you again.